Hi guys, this is Moti, and in this video we're gonna talk about how to choose and decide which substance to microdose. A disclaimer, all the content in this video is only for educational purposes and harm reduction. We do not advise and we do not promote the use of illegal substances or any psychedelic substances. Make sure to check within your country if these substances are legal, and even if they are, still they are very potent and should be dealt with very high sensitivity. And microdosing and choosing which substance to microdose with. So in order to make this video a bit more comprehensive and meaningful, I'm gonna focus on two substances, but I'll mention few. So the most common are psilocybin mushrooms and LSD. Some also microdose Amanita muscaria, which is another mushroom that has different active compounds, which is botanic acid and muscimol. And some also microdose mescaline, which is what you have in peyote and San Pedro cacti. Also microdose ayahuasca or DMT in different ways. But there are other substances that people think they microdose or want to microdose, but it's not microdosing at all, which are ketamine or MDMA. You cannot microdose MDMA because there is a minimum threshold to feel the effect, and it's not a microdose, and there is a big risk in microdosing MDMA on using it on a daily or weekly basis. And also ketamine, some people think that if they take small amounts all during the day, it's a microdose, but apparently it's like cumulatively it's a big dose. So it's kind of common issue, but it's not a microdose. Don't microdose ketamine nor MDMA. It's not a good idea to microdose MDMA or ketamine. It's impossible and dangerous and risky. Don't do it. And now I'll talk about microdosing, and you want to choose between. Most people usually choose either psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, or LSD, which is also originally synthesized from the argot fungus. Let's think about it and see how and which one is best for you. So first of all, we can talk about duration. Both LSD and psilocybin have few hours duration, but their LSD is a bit longer. So usually the effect of mushrooms microdosing, both micro and macro doses have the similar length of effect, just the intensity is lower. So it's usually somewhere between 4 to 6 hours, depends on a few things, but generally you can say 4 to 6 hours with psilocybin mushrooms, and with LSD it's usually around 8 to 10 hours. So in that sense, if you want to prolong your experience and it's beneficial and good for you, then maybe LSD in that sense is better. If you want to be more focused and niched for a specific time frame, then maybe psilocybin mushrooms, microdosing of psilocybin mushrooms is better. On the other hand, you can also take more during the day, another additional microdose, and that would lengthen the microdose effect. So it's all possible. But if you're afraid of taking too much, then maybe psilocybin mushrooms is a better solution because the effect would finish faster. Comparing the effects on creativity, energy, and focus. This one is very hard and very individual. I can't really determine one in a very decisive way that I can say that psilocybin mushrooms would be better for creativity, or LSD would be better for creativity, or for music, or for cooking, or for something like that. It's really in the minute details. Maybe it would be possible to say that the issue with nausea and stomach aches is a bit more profound and more common with psychedelic mushrooms with psilocybin, and hence maybe LSD would be more appropriate because it has less side effects sometimes, but again it's different. And in addition, sometimes this side effect of nausea is something that we can learn from and understand, and it's like a message, right? Like if it's a pain-like feeling and it tells you something is wrong, then listen and understand what's wrong and try to fix it. It could be some GI tract problems, it could be poor diet, over inflammation, or any other thing that causes disruption. It's not necessarily the mushroom itself that causes the nausea. Another factor to compare is price, right? So it depends on the country, but usually in most countries psilocybin is a bit more expensive than LSD, except if you grow it on your own or just pick it up. Then usually the price of LSD is really cheap because it's manufactured in such high amounts and the potency of the substance is so high, then it's just almost free. So price sometimes could play some role, but it's up to you if it matters or not. Toxicity and quality of the substance. So regarding toxicity, both LSD and psilocybin have very low toxicity effect. All the research that we know of since the 60s does not indicate any toxicity levels. I say that if you buy a mushroom, then it's you see a product, you see it. It's no one probably laced your mushrooms with some powder, right? Because you actually see a mushroom. With LSD, it could be a bit different. There are some derivatives. It could be N-bomb, some other substances that could have some potential risk. It's not very common, but really depends on the country. So really check, and it's probably a black market in most countries. So be careful. Do not buy from the black market. Do not buy any illegal substances. Basically, I think it's not a good idea. Predictability factor. So it's a big one because it depends how you consume your mushrooms, if it's from honey, chocolate, if you just grind it, whatever. But still there is almost always some discrepancy in the potency, right? If you take two different mushrooms, the potency of the psilocybin will be different. Even in the same mushroom, there will be different amounts of psilocybin in the top or in the bottom. It could even be the same size mushroom from the same substrate, but still it's going to be different because it grew up in different surroundings, different circumstances, water, soil, etc. So there is always an element of surprise. As long as you're not using synthetic psilocybin, there is an element of surprise regarding the potency and the effect. With LSD, it's much more predictable, especially if you know how to measure and use it correctly, not with tablets, but with drops. And then you really can say, oh, this is 5 micrograms, or this is 10 micrograms, or 15, and you really know, and then the result would be, and the effect would be very predictable and stable. And that's very a good tool to work with because you know what's going on. And the last factor, and maybe the most important one and surprising, is your belief system, right? If your belief system tells you that you need to use living mushroom because it has its own intelligence, unlike LSD, which is a chemical compound that was designed in a laboratory and is not natural, then your belief system is really powerful and gonna affect and influence your entire microdosing process. So in that sense, if you believe mushrooms are better for you, then go with it. If you're open and believe that also LSD is good for you, or LSD for some reason is good for you, then go with it. It's our limitation and the belief of what is risky for us and dangerous for us or bad or good for us is huge. So don't fight and don't do something against your instincts, although you might be open to see the differences. That's it. That's everything I had to say about the differences between choosing the substance for microdosing between LSD and psilocybin. Hope this helps. If you like this content and you want more of it, subscribe. Maybe I'm going to grow my own channel. Nice to talk to you. Nice to see you. Bye-bye.